Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Ryan McCormack, Factor and Core Equity Strategist over at Invesco for a look at weekly Nasdaq-100 performance. We'll also recap and take a deep dive into Netflix post-earnings. Ryan, it's great to see you as always, and great to see you on a week where the Nasdaq-100 is outperforming. We have not said that in quite some time.
Yeah, it's a good week for QQQM and QQQ, up by 4.29%, outpacing the S&P 500 up just over 3%, and S&P 500 value up 2.28%. Really propelled yesterday where we saw QQQ up over 3%. Last week we kind of talked about some of the implied rate hikes for next week's Fed meeting, and surprisingly, we saw a big change week over week. So right now, the implied rate hike for next week's meeting is at 0.797%. Where 1 week ago the implied move was closer to 100 basis points or 0.9%. So this comes off the back of the July University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, which was released on Friday, climbed to 51.1 from a low of 50 in June. Economists had forecasted that reading was going to come in at 50 again. Current conditions increased to 57.1 thanks to lower prices at the pump. The big story here was some of the inflation estimates retreating off of levels that we saw in the last reading. The 1-year estimate fell to 5.2% from 5.3%, and the longer term expectations, like 5 to 10 years out, fell to 2.8% versus the previous of 3.1%. So it looks like the Fed may, or the street is pricing in maybe a less hawkish Fed than 1 week ago, and as such, we saw risk come back on.
And what sectors provided leadership here?
Yeah, so against SPY, we saw the tech overweight and the performance within that sector contributing the most to relative performance, up 5.11% in the sector against the S&P 500 tech sector, which was up 4.55%. All but 5 tech companies in QQQ were in positive territory for the week. Large contributions from NVIDIA up 12.66%, Qualcomm up nearly 11%, AMD up over nearly 12.5%, and then consumer discretionary, second largest contributor sector, was up nearly 6.7% versus just under 6% in SPY. All but one discretionary name was in positive territory. Amazon advanced by over 8%. Tesla increased by over 5%. And to that point of risk being back on, every sector within QQQ and SPY ended the week in positive territory, other than utilities.
And Ryan, to wrap up here, let's take a look at Netflix earnings, and I wonder if the key to this earnings season is going to be not quite as bad as expected.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head, right? It's results that are less bad. And I think some of it is on the back of performance year to date. So if you look at Netflix through Monday, the stock was down over 68% year to date. Tuesday or yesterday, we saw a little bit of a rally heading into earnings, and then last night they reported Q2 earnings, EPS that beat analyst expectations, revenue that grew by 9%, but missed estimates largely due to a stronger dollar. But the big story here is the subscriber, which is consistently kind of the main focus point for Netflix earnings. During Q2, Netflix lost 980,000 subscribers, compared to the average analyst estimate for 2 million subscribers lost. Lost 1.3 million in the US and Canada, 770,000 in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, but added 1.1 million in Asia Pacific. So despite the fact that the company has lost subscribers for 2 consecutive quarters, lost around 200,000 in Q1, it noted it expects to add 1 million subscribers in Q3. Q3 guidance was a little bit light, missed estimates for revenue, EPS, and subscribers, but I think you look at the huge downward year-to-date move that the stock had seen through Monday, investors do seem to be pretty pleased with that less bad results, and thus far today the stock's up over 6%. Also as of today, the stock's trading at a PE of around 21. Significantly cheaper than a number of value stocks that are out there. So investors may be looking to enter and again put risk back on at these levels. But we're going to see big earnings reports continuing. We have Tesla tonight after the close, and then next week a pretty full slate with Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Meta all scheduled to report.
You guys will be very busy on the QQQ team over there at Invesco. Ryan, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.